In this era of digital surveillance, we need to be careful about who we choose to be our, as they would say, digital overlords. Tomorrow, Twitter puts into effect a change which it had announced privately last year, and that is the new sharing of information with a very contentious security service. So let's take a look here. Here we have the screen cap from X's, or as we more commonly know it, Twitter, not X. X's creator monetization standards. And this is going to be requiring that everyone on the platform who is a content creator, it will have to be verifying themselves with their actual government ID. And that in itself is always a bother to do with any sort of these programs. But we all have to come to terms with allowing it to some companies. And we have to judge if Twitter is one of those companies that we want to hand our information to. And why is that? Because the ID verification system is consenting to hand over all of your information here to Authentics. Now, Authentics is one of those many security companies that likes to fly under the radar while doing some of the most egregious things. But who is Authentics? Authentics here, you might notice, comes out of Israel. And there's quite a few alarm bells that should be ringing here. Why is it that we, as Americans or Europeans, are sending our information to Israel? And Israel, are they a country that can be trusted with that information? Some people will be thinking that just because this company is hosted out of Israel, that they are not actually doing anything with the government. But that, my friends, is a very incorrect assumption of the way that companies operate within the insular Israeli nation. So let's go on over here. This is an article here coming from L'Orient Today, a French publication. And we start here. Links with the Israeli army. Ron Atzman, the founder of Authentics, spent his military service with Shin Bet's notorious 8200. Now, the first thing we have to go here is, what is Shin Bet? People hear about Mossad. Mossad is the famous Israeli intelligence arm. But the intelligence apparatus of the Israeli state is actually broken up into 3 different functions, 3 different departments. And one of those departments is Shin Bet. Shin Bet, which focuses much more on tech, much more on internal security, has this group, the 8200. And that is where the founder here is associated with. But it should be noted that while this article does not go into it, Ron Atzman is not the only member of Authentics' founding group that has ties to Shin Bet and the 8200. But let's go on. With a staff numbering between 5,000 and 10,000, this unit is Israel's main intelligence strike force, providing it with 90% of its intelligence material, says Yar Cohen, who headed the unit for 5 years. This unit had a rare moment of media exposure in 2010 when Stuxnet, a malicious computer worm developed jointly with the CIA to reprogram and neutralize Tehran's nuclear equipment, was discovered. Now, for those who are not aware, Tehran is the capital of Iran. So what they're saying here is the Iranian nuclear program was damaged as a result of this joint program from the CIA and those over at Shin Bet, which is the intelligence arm you're talking about here. The operation's success set back the development of Iran's nuclear program by several years. More than a mere military unit, 8200 serves as an incubator for Israel's tech industry, which accounts for 14% of the country's jobs and nearly 20% of its GDP. Waze, Wix, Viber, and NSO, which produce the infamous Pegasus spyware, have one thing in common. Their founders include former members of the unit. So we are talking about here the concept that many people don't understand, that the Israeli government is very, very deeply entrenched in funding their own tech industry. They consider it something of important national security. So many of these companies are funded through incubator programs that come out of 8200. The problem is the porosity between the Israeli tech and defense world, says Corey. Israel has reached this level of technological sophistication thanks to this porosity and financial support that links defense to technology startups, in part of their defense strategy in order to build supremacy. But this financial support does not come without quid pro quo, as it gives the Israeli government privileged access to the information gathered by these companies. In the case of NSO and its Pegasus software, Israel has turned these lines of code into a real diplomatic tool, whether to strengthen its influence in Africa or to accelerate the normalization with the Gulf states. Saudi Arabia and Bahrain are both on the company's client lists. So, remember, all of this information is coming out of here by a former leader of this spy group. So none of this is just spun wholesale conspiracy theories. This is the spy group directly talking about their activities and how the companies that they fund through 8200 go on to serve the needs of the Israeli state. So here we are, about to be handing over our information to the Israeli government tomorrow, because you can be sure that anything that goes through Twitter has to be verified and controlled by this Israeli company that is backed by the Israeli government. And we have to wonder, what is this actually going to do for many people around the world, especially those who might be Muslim in faith or from the Arab countries, because these companies and their ties to the Israeli state have been shown in the past to be used as an apparatus for control. Some people will understand the way that spy agencies work. Stuff like the CIA often don't do the James Bond style spying. There's no one out there dodging lasers with a PP-7. You're not running down in a BMW across Russia and then shooting everyone that you come across. None of that. That's all just movie magic. The real boringness that is intelligence services is using leverage over people or using financial incentives to control people and get them to do what you need. So when we are talking about this sort of thing, we are talking about establishing a way for the Israeli government to extend its control over other people and use influence operations. Now, some people are going to think, I don't live in Israel. I don't live in an Arab country. I am not of the Muslim faith. So why should I worry about that? Well, we have to remember who we're talking about here. We're not talking about just the Israeli state. Much of Israel's existence is owed to the strong shared cooperation between the United States intelligence services and the Israeli intelligence services. We recently had the attack from Iran onto Israel, where they shot something like 100 missiles. I forget the exact amount off the top of my head. But it was not the Israelis alone who defeated those missiles, who protected themselves. No, it was a joint operation with American radar systems, with American interception platforms. We defended them. We helped to prop up Israel, as we have continued to do during the conflict there with Gaza, and ensuring that none of the other Arab states would take the opportunity to fight for the rights of the Palestinians. And because of this, we can be sure that the information that is being gathered here does not go only to the Israeli state. It will also be shared with American intelligence services. The company also has deep links to Dutch intelligence services, meaning that there is a direct link between this information being controlled and then disseminated to European Union intelligence services. So if you're asking yourself, how does this impact me? If you're asking yourself, how am I an infected party? It is because all of the information and the data will also be shared with the most powerful global security sources in the world. If you think that this is something that we should be concerned about, if you think that this is something that is overblown, please tell me down in the comments, and I will speak with you next time. If you liked this, do remember, please hit the like, ring that bell, follow me on the socials. Have a good day.